Marathon's visuals are easily 10 out of 10. The neon world looks incredible, the atmosphere pulls you instantly, and at first it feels like Bungie created something truly special. But don't let visuals fool you. After spending time in the game, I realized that behind this beautiful design, there are actually some serious gameplay problems, confusing UI, questionable loot design, extremely fast time to kill, and bots that feel more frustrating than challenging. So today we are going to break down what Marathon actually does well and why it might struggle to keep players interested. Let's start with design. Here you have two options. Either you love the game like I do and really wanted to dive into this neon, plastic world because it's mesmerizing, or you hate it and think it looks like another colorful Roblox. I was honestly shocked by the design. The developers did a great job and the immersion happens instantly. The world is captivating and the lighting is incredible. Dark neon basements, bright open fields, and danger waiting around every corner. Bungie managed to create a real vibe, which isn't surprising since they are the creators of worlds like Halo and Destiny. But there is another interesting thing about this visual style. At first, the neon design is absolutely mesmerizing. It looks fresh, stylish, and very different from most shooters. But after a few hours of playing, this extreme colorfulness can actually become tiring for the eyes. The beauty attracts you at first, but over time the constant neon lights and bright contrast start to feel overwhelming. Some players might love it, but personally I definitely felt that fatigue after long sessions. But there is another major problem with the design. The interface. It immediately reminded me of Death Stranding. Everyone knows our genius Kojima, who created a super cluttered interface, but since it's a great Kojima game, everyone just put up with it. We all seem to suck it up in the gaming industry. We ignore the negatives to get the positives. In Marathon, the interface is even worse. Sure, you get used to it over time, but putting a tab inside another tab just to do a simple task is a bad choice. A lot of people, including me, have been complaining about this. It's unlikely to be fixed, even though developers talk to the community. They don't always listen when they don't want to. In this same interface, you can find factions, where you get useless quests, and of course, the super cool lore. The lore is delivered like an audiobook, which is just not interesting. Maybe someone likes that, but definitely not me. Games like The Last of Us and Detroit Become Human handle this perfectly. In The Last of Us, you'll find notes with different handwriting, loot tips, and drawings. It's actually fun to collect and read them. In Detroit, you have magazines and tablets with pictures and interesting info. But listening to lore that has no real impact just isn't very engaging. Another thing I want to talk about in Marathon is the characters. Honestly, it feels like Apex Legends, but in an extraction shooter setting. Different characters offer different team play opportunities. Someone heals, someone tanks, and someone else can use invisibility to sneak up on enemies. There's even a character with the unique movement abilities like a double jump. The class mechanic is definitely one of the game's biggest pros, but Bungie should keep developing it and adding new heroes. Especially for future boss raids, having a variety of characters will allow for some really cool team tactics. Bungie did a solid job here. It adds variety of gameplay and lets you focus on creating builds. Speaking of builds, I think this will be one of the core mechanics that people will make tons of videos about in the future. The game has a lot of modifiers called implants. Each of them works differently depending on your character. So you'll need to experiment to find the right setup for yourself. Solo builds are very different from team-focused ones, and that adds a lot of replay value to the game. The bad UI continues with the loot. You can tell what an upgrade actually does just by looking at it. They all look the same. So you have to stop and read. Reminder, the maps here are relatively small for an extraction shooter. You can get shot in the head and die in a second because the time to kill is very low, and we'll talk about this later. Then there are the bots. They have absurd amount of HP and deal ridiculous damage. Again, their visual design is great, but the gameplay is frustrating. It takes too long to kill them, and there are way too many of them. For example, I reach a guarded extraction point and 10 tanky boats spawned on me. I only survived because there is a zone where you can evacuate even if you're injured. Regarding loot, one of the main things is credits. You can either carry them in your inventory or get them as cards that instantly go to your balance. It doesn't really hurt to lose them because you find so many. Most of the loot is basically junk used for upgrading skills in the factions menu, which, by the way, you have to find buried under a pile of confusing tabs. The fact that loot has no real value is a very bad sign. This is an extraction shooter. What's the point of playing it if the loot doesn't matter? We are here to play games. Play games, not just look at them. The problem with Marathon is that it looks great, but it's not the game about a journey or a story. It's a PvP first and PvE second. How are they going to keep players interested? Even Destiny fans aren't getting Destiny here, so they might not stick around. Now let's talk about gunplay. As for shooting, I have to give them credit. The impact is there, it feels solid and the recoil is decent. But there is another problem: visual noise. When you shoot, the interface gets flooded with flashes and fireworks from the mobs or players you're killing. In a PvP game, this is terrible. It stops you from winning with pure skill because you simply can't see anything. This is an easy fix, they just need to tone down the effects. I hope they do, because this isn't a pure PvE game. So shooting leads us to time to kill system, and the time to kills feels way too punishing. You can get melted in a second, even with a basic gear. In a game with huge maps and atmospheric sounds, dying instantly feels wrong. Of course, you can get better shields or use character abilities, but this is a game. You aren't always full focused, like you're at a tournament. I have a clip where I get deleted instantly. It wasn't even about skill. I was just destroyed without a chance to make a mistake. It's the same with these damn bots. They hit as hard as players, they come in huge numbers, and they take way too many bullets to kill. I'm not a casual player, I have good aim, but this is overkill. Skill doesn't help when you're getting crushed like a bug in a second. If you just came home from work and want to chill in Marathon with your friends, this game is definitely not for you. The map design and neon are cool, but these gameplay issues are unforgivable, especially for $40. Don't forget guys, this is a paid game. You can only get a refund on Steam, so keep these problems in mind before buying. This feels like a really cool art design museum, and they should have made it a story-driven game instead of PvP PvE extraction shoot. It's unclear why they even entered this genre. The game has been redesigned so many times, the early trailers didn't match reality, and people even started calling it Concord 3.0 since High Guard was 2.0. Honestly, I'm disappointed. At first, the game hooked me with its style and freshness, but then the gameplay issues completely ruined its image. This is basically a final exam for Bungie from Sony. They haven't had much success lately, and if Marathon doesn't catch on, the already downsized Bungie might get cut even more. Also, player interaction is minimal, mostly because of the time to kill issue I mentioned. Why talk to someone if the conversation can end in a second? Even if creators like Burnt Peanut are being paid to promote it, it won't save the game from its own choices. Again, I'm not a Marathon hater. I actually like the game and its style. The designers seriously deserve a raise for their work. The extraction activations, that little phone UI, and the whole neon plastic aesthetics are just top tier. But the time to kill, the overpowered bots, the worthless loot, the confusing interface and lore just kill the desire to actually play. When you play a game, you need a why, you need motivation. In story-driven games, it's a plot. It's like a movie or a TV show where you control the main character. In something like Battlefield 1, it's the atmosphere, the uniforms, the soldiers screaming in different languages depending on their country. But here we get a dry idea in a pretty shell that isn't executed well. Do the developers really think every player is going to sit down and read hundreds of pages of text just to understand the story? This is a big downside. This isn't just a quick match of CS. These are atmospheric drops onto a map with a history and a story. But that story is pushed so far into the background that even though you know it exists, you have no idea what's actually going on. Overall, this is just another attempt to break into live service market. Time will tell if it succeeds, but this is definitely not a game for the masses. There are too many off-putting things, and even the high-quality neon design won't appeal to everyone. Trying to please everyone is a mistake, but only pleasing a tiny percentage of players doesn't help either. The neon world is beautiful, the gunplay feels solid, and the class system has potential, but confusing UI, meaningless loot, frustrating boss, and extremely fast time to kill make it hard to actually enjoy the experience. Marathon feels like an incredible art direction wrapped inside the wrong genre, and right now it feels like a missed opportunity.